As a dungeon master, have you ever felt like your encounters in D&D lack strategy? Your monsters are just running in and attacking the party until they're dead, and that's about it? Well, the monsters should be a little bit more strategic. They should really know what they're doing. And if they don't, there's some tools out there that can help you. Mainly a book that we're going to be looking at today called The Monsters Know What They're Doing. So let's get into it. Hey everybody, I'm Joe and this is the DM Toolbox, your go-to place to find all the tools you need to enhance your D&D games. Now before we get started today, I want to remind you all that I recently hit 500 subscribers here on the channel, and to celebrate, I'm giving away a copy of 5th edition Foes from Frog God Games. The giveaway for this book is this week on Friday, so if you haven't done so yet, check out the video I'm linking up here and down in the description below on how you can enter this contest and win this book, because I hope that it's going to go to some lucky winner here. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at toolbox_DM and on TikTok at DM Toolbox. Also, while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video and help me out to grow the channel more. Do your monsters know what they're doing? Well, they should. In this book, The Monsters Know What They're Doing, Combat Tactics for Dungeon Masters by Keith Ammann should help you do that. The idea behind this book is that it provides you with insight into how a specific monster, be it a humanoid or a monstrosity, a dragon or an aberration, whatever it may be, is going to operate in combat. And it's more than just going to be, run and attack, right? Every creature out there has got some kind of motivation, whether that's eating food or survival or territory, or in the case of many humanoids, some kind of political or religious intrigue, right? So the idea is to look at all these different creatures and figure out how they're going to react to the party in combat. And what the author Keith did was he originally had a blog, and he would go over these different creatures, every week on his blog. And, he eventually compiled it and enhanced it, updated it to make this book. And this has got to be one of the best books I have ever owned or read. I had the opportunity to see it in the past a little bit, but I hadn't owned it. I hadn't really dug into it. And my beautiful, wonderful wife bought this for me for Christmas, and it is probably one of the best Christmas presents I could have ever asked for as a dungeon master. I told her, because she's one of my players, I'm like, you realize by buying me this book, you just basically handed me a loaded gun. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to unleashing these tactics on her and her party in the coming weeks. But, the basic ideas here is he's gone through and taken a lot of the monsters out of the monster manual and fleshed them out in here and said, this is how these creatures are going to operate. But what about all the other monsters, right? What about our Kobold Press monsters here, or our Nord Game monsters, or even some of the other official Wizards of the Coast books that have monsters in it that aren't in this book? Well, the first few pages of this book, I think, are the most important, because he goes over in here how creatures of different ability stats would act in combat. Are they strength and con heavy? Are they dex and strength heavy? Are they, intelligence or wisdom heavy? Depending on their stats, they're going to have different characteristics and different ways of, acting in combat. Are they going to be a ranged attacker? Are they going to go in, if they're high strength and con, they might be all up for just a brute force attack. But maybe they're high strength and low con, and they're going to be more strategic. They're going to want to hit, but they're going to want to also defend and not take damage. So depending on those factors, we start to see an image of what this creature might do in combat. The other thing he does is he goes into the creatures by type, things like humanoid or monstrosities, aberration, elemental, fey, undead, and what is their motivation? Why do the monsters do what they do? What's their driving force? Sometimes in like a beast, it's just instinctual, right? They work on base instinct. They essentially maybe are protecting territory and they want food, and that's all they care about is survival. So they will base their attacks around those things. So, a wolf might not attack a party, but a pack of wolves will. So, you know, they're not high intelligence, but they have instinct, and they might be able to look at an adversary and decide whether it's worth fighting that adversary or not. And they know when to run and get out of there. You know, not every creature is just going to run and attack till it's dead. Creatures want to live, just like the players' characters want to live. These monsters generally don't want to die. So at some point, they are going to look to escape or to just not engage, because when they look at the party or in combat, they realize that they can't take these people and they would rather live than fight to the death. So that's what this book is all about. So even if you want to apply the concept of this book to any creature, the first few pages of this book really help you do that. Now, there is a sequel to this book. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's More Monsters Know What They're Doing or something to that effect. But and I assume it's going to go into maybe some of the monsters from like Volos or Mordekaiser's or something like that. But I plan on picking that up because I'm so impressed with this book, and I just want more of this information. It's so good. So what I want to do here is kind of show you guys. I'm going to just grab one monster, one thing out of this book to kind of talk about, because I think it'll give you enough of the concept of what's in this book. Now, what I want to go over here in this book today, I think, is going to be goblins. And the reason for that is it's such a staple creature. It's something we use a lot in our early game. And, you know, a lot of times we just have them attack till they're dead. That's what goblins do. They run in and they go, let's attack and stab, and that's it. And they really shouldn't. They're more of a creature of survival, right? Goblins are cowardly. They know what they have to do. They need to attack and kill and loot, but they also, you know, are not going to fight to the death. They want to live. So the other kind of flip side of this coin is a lot of these creatures like goblins, let's say kobolds, for instance, because I know there's a whole, you know, goblins versus kobolds thing in the community. You know, kobolds are going to act differently than goblins. Yeah, they're still low level, low HP kind of thing, but they are a completely different creature, and they're going to act differently in combat. So I want to look at goblins first here and just kind of go over how this book kind of breaks down goblins as an adversary, because I'm sure we've all run a goblin fight and probably all the goblins died for the most part. Maybe a couple ran away. But let's look at how the author here breaks down a fight with goblins. Okay, let me read you this opening paragraph on goblins just to kind of give you an idea. Here's what we know about goblins from the Monster Manual. First, from the flavor text, they live in dark, dismal settings, congregate in large numbers, and employ alarms and traps. They're low strength and high dexterity with a good stealth modifier. The intelligence and wisdom are in the average range. They possess dark vision and the nimble escape feature, which allows them to disengage or hide as a bonus action. Very important to their action economy. So what does this all mean? So goblins are very good at a stick and move type of strategy is what he's going to get at in here. Because they can hide, because they can stealth, because they can disengage, and because they're high dex and they have short bows, you know, they are going to decide to ambush the party. They're going to set a trap, right? They set traps. So they're going to pick an area probably at night when it's dark so they can employ their dark vision. And if there's any non-dark vision players, it's going to give them disadvantage during this combat. They're going to hide off in the shadows and ambush the party with their bows and shoot. So what are they going to do though? After they shoot, then they're not hidden anymore, right? Well, no, because then they can use their movement to move to a new location and take the hide action as a bonus action. And then on the next round, they have advantage again if they're hidden. So yeah, they have to roll a stealth check and all that, and versus, you know, a player's passive perception. But if they pass that, they're going to have advantage on their next attack. So they're just going to keep doing that. They're going to, you know, shoot, move, hide, shoot, move, hide. If the players try to close that gap, they can disengage, pull out, find a new location to hide, and then pop up in the next round with advantage in their attack again. They are not going to want to get into melee. Yeah, they have scimitars, and they may get into melee if they think they could take the target in numbers. So let's say 3 or 4 of them surround a target and they're all attacking. But after one round, if they hit and this guy doesn't go down, they're going to go, we may have bit off more than we can chew, and they're going to disengage and get out of there and fall back to another plan of arranged attacks. Or they're going to say, you know what? too much for us. Let's bug out, and they're going to get away. They are also going to, in general, what he says in this book is that, a creature, once it gets below about 60% of its total health is gone, at that point it's severely injured and it's going to start making a decision whether it should stay or go. Some creatures may stay if they think they still have the numbers and the advantage, but some might just leave. Once they get to like 80%, like something like a goblin's down to like 2 hit points, it's gone. It's running. It doesn't want to die. They're out of there. But if they're only down to maybe 4 hit points, don't forget a goblin only has 7 hit points. They'll probably stay in for a little bit longer and see what they can do. So the goblin itself is a creature that wants to survive, but it also wants your stuff. So if it does take down a player, and there's no threat in its immediate area, it's not going to go off and try to find another target to attack. It's probably going to loot the body right there mid-combat. It's going to try to take the stuff, and then if it gets anything good, it may say, okay, we're good. We got some stuff. Let's get out of here. It doesn't need to take out the whole party. It just needs to take out 1 or maybe 2 people, loot their stuff, and go. So that's kind of, how the goblin's going to operate, right? So now let's look at how we think the kobolds are going to operate. Let's look at the kobold and read the opening paragraph here of what the author says. Kobolds differ from goblins in significant ways. Their intelligence, wisdom, and constitution are all lower. They have sunlight sensitivity, which means that while goblins may prefer to dwell in the dark, kobolds must. Like goblins, kobolds set traps. Unlike goblins, they're not nimble or stealthy. What's most distinctive about kobolds is their pack tactics trait, which gives them advantage in attacks when ganging up on a target. That's the crux of how kobolds ought to fight. Kobold society has evolved to be highly cooperative. Unlike goblins forever squabbling and looking out for themselves, kobolds instinctively work together, even without having to discuss what they're doing. So what the kobolds are generally going to do is they're going to be in a dark place, a cave or underground or ruins of an old building, but out of the sunlight. So it's going to be dark, and they're going to set some kind of trap. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be a pit trap or something like that. It could just be an ambush, but they're going to pop up. And what they're going to first do is range attack with their slings and try to soften the party up. And there's going to be a lot of them. They are a swarm creature. So let's say we've got a party of 4. There might be 10 kobolds, maybe 12, 15 kobolds with a party of 4 players. They want to outnumber them by at least 3 to 1. So they're going to sit there and they're going to soften them up. Then the party is going to close that distance generally and engage in melee. Now the kobolds don't really want to be in melee, but they're okay with it because they have pack tactics. So there's going to be 3 or more kobolds on a single player. If that player takes most of them out and there's a kobold that's 1-on-1, he's going to retreat and either run away if he's low in health, let's say 1 or 2 hit points, he's gone, or he's going to back out and try to engage with another group of kobolds attacking another party member so that he's got the odds in his favor again. And because of pack tactics, he's going to be attacking with advantage. So that's kind of their thing, is numbers and swarming. If they find themselves in a situation where they are not outnumbering the party by 3 to 1 anymore, they're retreating. They're out. They're done. They want that 3 to 1. 2 to 1, yeah, they could still start, get their advantage, but they really want a higher number than that. So 3 to 1 seems to be a good number to kobolds. If they have less than that, they bug out. They also are, not going to disengage. They're generally just not smart enough. They're just going to turn and dash. So there's going to be some opportunity attacks there because of that, lower intelligence and wisdom. They're just not, they're not smart enough, strategic enough for that. But they instinctively work well together. So if they drop low, they're gone. If they lose too many in their numbers, they're gone. But right there, we see 2 low-level, type of creatures that many of us would use interchangeably almost in combat, for a low-level combat that we want to run for our players, but 2 very different strategies, right? The other thing I should mention too, because we talked about goblins, is you got like the goblin, boss. He is not a ranged guy. He's a melee guy, but he has that reaction that lets him deflect one, attack that would have hit him to one of his minions. So he basically grabs a minion, uses it as a meat shield, and then runs away. So again, there's that selfishness versus the tribe, the group mentality versus, yeah, the goblins are working together to achieve something, but each of them is out for themselves. They don't really care about each other. They just want loot and stuff, and the kobolds want loot and stuff too, but they work together to achieve it. So two different types of combats there for, both with these, CR, 1/8 type creatures. So really cool. That's an example of low level, right? We've got stuff in here for, dragons, and, I just ran in Tome of Annihilation. I ran the Soon Sisters. It's a Coven of Hags. And, there's a hag section here, which I really wish I had this book in my hand before I ran that combat, because I think I could have really enhanced it even more. But I'm definitely going to read the section on liches for my upcoming Acererak fight, so that'll be cool. But I think that this book may be one of the best tools for any DM to have in their toolbox. So I really felt I had to show this book. And something I will say about this book is it's not like the other books on my shelf. This is not a source book or, a general rule book or something like that. These bigger textbook style books with pictures and stuff like that. This thing reads almost like a novel. I mean, it's just pages of text. There is a little bit of, art here and there in a chapter. You might see just like a bit of an ink drawing here, kind of like this, right? But that's it. This is a really big 500-page book that's all text and all strategy. And it is, it's amazing. So I highly recommend this book, The Monsters Know What They're Doing by Keith Ammann. There is the sequel to the book as well, which I believe is More Monsters Know What They're Doing or something to that effect. And there is a player one for like player strategy. So if you're a player, or DMs, if you feel like your players are not good at strategy, maybe it's a good book to pick up from one of them, or at least to suggest to them. So I'll put links to these down in the description. When I do buy those, I will do reviews on them. But this is such a good book. One of the best Christmas presents I could have asked for. So yeah, definitely check it out, guys. But yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you get something out of this book, because I certainly am. And don't forget about the giveaway. This Friday, I think I will go live at some point on Friday to do it. I'll announce it on my Twitter. And we will do the giveaway for 5th edition foes. I have another giveaway planned, I believe, for maybe my 750th subscriber mark. So definitely make sure you're subbing and following me and checking me out, and we'll be doing more giveaways in the future. So until then, guys, roll those dice.